Greetings, my fellow YouTubians. I had a contest recently and I awarded a runner-up prize to Kyle, aka the InnerdvdPattern. I would have given him the fourth place prize for the DVD, but I was only giving away 3 prizes, and if I just threw an extra one in there, I don't think that would have been fair. But I offered to make for him a video on any subject that he liked, and he asked if I would talk a little bit about some of my favorite directors. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Now the wind's picking up out here. It's been really nice today here in Chicago, so I thought I'd come outside and do this video, but I might regret this because it's starting to get chilly because the sun is setting. First and foremost, Mr. Fincher. David Fincher, of course. Everyone knows who he is. Then I would like to suggest Steven Soderbergh. Actually, I recall that Mr. DVD Pattern asked this question of V-Rose during her Q&A. I think it was in December, and her top 5 is like almost identical to mine, with the exception of Tim Burton. In place of Tim Burton, I'd list Soderbergh. He's done a lot of really interesting movies over the years, and he's quite multi-talented. He writes, directs, operates the camera, and edits, amongst other things. And he's very prolific too. He released like 4 different movies within the span of 2009, I think. The Girlfriend Experience, The Informant with Matt Damon, and 2 separate movies on Che Guevara with Benicio del Toro in the lead. He's an amazing guy. He's done a wide variety of stuff, and he's extremely talented. Really like his editing style too. Christopher Nolan, of course. We're all big on him. We all know who he is. He's terrific. Then there's, of course, Mr. Martin Scorsese, who has done a number of admirable pictures. And, of course, Quentin Tarantino, who is brimming with enthusiasm and energy and loves movies more than water and sunshine. I'm pretty close to that on that, and his movies are infectious. One of the reasons... One of the ways I sort of determined, I just did this sort of scientifically, I took a look at directors whose movies I will automatically go and see in the theater, as soon as possible, because I like their work so much. I also have sort of made this chart. Over the years, I've done basically top movies of the year lists, and so I've got about 21 top 10 lists right now. And so what I did was I took the top 5 of each list and counted the number of times a director appeared at each of these lists, and some of them have appeared quite frequently. Quentin Tarantino has had 4 movies in my various top 5s. Kill Bill Volume 1, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, and Reservoir Dogs are all in there. Another guy who has had a lot of movies in my top 5s is a guy who goes by the name of Richard Linklater. He has started out with very low-budget movies and has since moved on to some studio pictures, such as The School of Rock and The Bad News Bears, but he also does mostly indie movies. Some of my favorite movies of his include the Before Sunrise and Before Sunset films, his first feature-length film Slacker, and Waking Life. He's also he's done a variety of stuff as well, but he tends to be very indie, and I appreciate that. Then there's, of course, a long-time favorite of mine, the directorial duo of Joel and Ethan Coen. You may not realize this, but Ethan did not get directorial credit on their films until The Lady Killers. The reason for that is because there's a rule with the Directors Guild, the union that all the Hollywood directors belong to, and that is that they have to show definitively that they are a directorial team, so that a producer or perhaps even a studio executive doesn't horn in on the directorial credit of someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of pull in the industry. The rule is only one person credited with directing, and although Joel and Ethan Coen have been and always shall be a directorial team, they just didn't bother, insisting that they get co-credit. They're just, whatever, I mean, Joel will take the directorial credit, Ethan will take producer credit, and they'll both be credited with co-writing the screenplay, even though the both of them did all 3 of those jobs together. They've done a number of movies that I admire. Fargo, Miller's Crossing, The Man Who Wasn't There are some of my favorites. Of course, Spielberg is a director who I've admired for a long time, ever since I was a little kid. Movies like E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, were favorites of mine when I was a kid. And of course, I've, admired some of the other stuff he's done lately, like Munich in 2005, and of course Schindler's List is one of his best films as well. He's sort of a standby. You know, he'll always be someone that I'm interested in, no matter whether or not some of the movies he's done which are outright bad, like say AI or War of the Worlds, you know, which you know, I mean, he's still worth a look no matter what. David Cronenberg is a very interesting guy. He's from Canada, and he's done a lot of what they call body horror movies, movies in which the body sort of revolts against the owner. He's had a lot of twisted imagery. Lately, he's been doing more dramas, crime thrillers, I guess you could say. I haven't really enjoyed his last two pictures all that much, Easter Promises and A History of Violence, but he's done a lot of really cool movies like Videodrome, and of course The Fly, and Existence, yeah, he's terrific, and he's always very interesting. He's got interesting tastes, so yeah, he's a good one. One of the old-time guys, I have to go with this, of course, Mr. Stanley Kubrick. He's made at least two movies that I would consider among the 20 greatest movies I've ever seen. Of course, he's not alive anymore, so he's not producing. But yeah, he's got quite an impressive record. His films are some of the most iconic, and I can't say that some of his films, like say 2001, are among my favorites of his, but yeah, I can't help but admire the guy. The guy is just you know, quite the craftsman, and really knows his stuff, or knew his stuff, unfortunately. One guy who's shown up on a couple of my top 5 lists is Alfonso Cuarón, who up until like say 2000 or so really didn't impress me very much with the films he's made, but in 2002 he did Y tu mamá también, and then he went on to do Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Children of Men, and right now he's prepping a movie, a science fiction movie called Gravity, which at this point I believe will star Sandra Bullock as an astronaut who loses power and has to figure out how to get home. And apparently this movie is so technically advanced that the first shot is going to last 20 minutes long. It's going to be an unbroken 20-minute long shot, which is exciting. I don't know if they're actually going to do it. They've got a, you know, they've had a lot of problems with casting, but we'll see. Brad Bird is like the king of the animated directors right now. The Iron Giant is my favorite movie of 1999. He directed, of course, Ratatouille and The Incredibles, two of my favorite Pixar movies. And he's doing his first live-action movie is doing Mission Impossible, the new Mission Impossible movie, so that's interesting. Robert Zemeckis, or Bobby Z as he's known to his friends, has had 2 movies appear on top 5s of mine. 3 if you count Back to the Future, although I wasn't doing top 5s or top 10s back in the 80s, but Back to the Future is like my favorite movie of the 80s. What Lies Beneath and Forrest Gump are 2 of my favorite movies of his. He's also done Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know, he's very cool. These days he does all the motion capture movies, and I'm not really fond of that. I wish he'd go back to doing live action because I really like the way he shoots. I like his style, you know, and I'll always be interested in what he does, but I didn't even bother seeing the Scrooge movie that he did with Jim Carrey. Just wasn't that interesting to me because, you know, I'm just not as thrilled with the all motion capture genre. One director whose work varies somewhat in my admiration, but who has made a couple of very, very compelling movies is, of course, Mr. Clint Eastwood. Unforgiven and Million Dollar Baby have showed up on my top 5 lists. They're both excellent, and I'm always going to be interested in what he does. I went to see Hereafter. I thought it was pretty decent. Not my favorite of his movies. And I really didn't get into the 2 movies he did on World War II, which were Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima. Wasn't really big on that. And he's done some lousy movies too, like The Rookie and Bloodwork and stuff that just is kind of worthless. You know, he's always going to be someone who's interesting and you know, sort of a straight arrow type of director. Now there's one guy whose name I should mention, and that is Scott, aka Tony Scott, the younger brother of Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott's very admired, of course, but I don't not like his movies nearly as much as Tony on the whole. Ridley Scott's made some good ones, like Matchstick Men and Gladiator would be favorites of mine of his, but Tony Scott has made some, you know, just sort of bare-knuckle action movies that are really a lot of fun. He's done some dumb ones, but some really good ones as well. I think my favorites would have to be Last Boy Scout, True Romance, which is from the Tarantino script, and Deja Vu, which really didn't get a lot of love, but it's a really, really good thriller. Denzel Washington, of course, has acted with him in a number of movies, including that one. And, of course, Crimson Tide is a decent one as well. Another guy I've liked is the Dutch director, Mr. Paul Verhoeven, who has done a number of movies that I've been interested in, some of which are kind of dumb. Showgirls, Hollow Man. I'm not crazy about Basic Instinct. It's a well-made movie, but it's also a little dumb. However, he has made two very terrific science fiction movies, RoboCop and Starship Troopers, that are both on my top 10 for their respective decades. And finally, I'd like to mention Neil Butte. He's sort of an odd duck here. There's only a few movies of his that I really like, one of which is The Shape of Things. But as it happens, two of his films not only appeared on my top 5 of the year, they were both at #1, my #1 favorite movies of the year. One of them was Your Friends and Neighbors from '98, and the other was Nurse Betty from 2000. I had to come inside because the battery on my camera ran out, so it interrupted my recording, and it was getting kind of chilly out there. But like I said, Neil Butte had two movies not only show up in my top 5 for their years, but also they came in at #1, which is something that I can't say about any other directors. A lot of these guys had movies that come in at #1. Fincher did 7, Christopher Nolan, Batman Begins, Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas, Richard Linklater, Before Sunset, Quentin Tarantino, Kill Bill Volume 1, Joel Ethan Coen, Miller's Crossing, yeah, just, a whole bunch. But the exception to the bunch is Steven Soderbergh. He's had 3 movies at least appear on my top 5s. Since 1990, and none of them have hit #1, although there are, very, very good. Out of Sight, The Limey, and Solaris, I think, are the 3. So yeah, those are my favorites. And of course I have a lot more, but those are the ones that sort of stand above all the others, is the ones that I'm just like very, very interested in. There have been a few directors who I've really liked a lot in the past, but not so much now. The one who comes to mind is Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi is a guy that I've admired quite a bit since I saw the Evil Dead movies. And he's done a number of fun movies since then, but I didn't really dig any of the Spider-Man movies. Didn't like Drag Me to Hell. Wasn't crazy about much that he's done since, say, A Simple Plan in 1998. So he's sort of disappointed me. And again, Ridley Scott is someone who's I've admired a few of his movies. Thelma and Louise is another good Ridley Scott film. Alien, of course. But the last few years, I really haven't enjoyed very much of his movies at all. I didn't like Body of Lies very much. A Good Year was just kind of blah. I didn't even bother going to see Robin Hood because it just didn't interest me at all. But yeah, those are the ones who I am big on, and will continue to be to be fans of for some time. But yeah, Fincher's always the coolest for me anyway. So anyway, those are my favorites. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Take it easy.